Commander Precon's been around for a while. Between the good and the not so good, it seems like there's just too many to keep track of. So today we're cutting through the noise and ranking them all. Welcome to MTG Daily. Let's get into it. Before we dive in, here's how the ranking works. I'm looking at three things: how strong the deck is, how fun it is to play, and how much value it brought with reprints and upgrades. D tier means you probably left it on the shelf for good reason, while S tier means it's one of the best precons ever made. Starting off with the first D tier. Exquisite Invention from Izzet Artifacts in 2018. This looked like a dream. It has Saheeli, Izzet Artifacts, and a lot of flashy spells. But in reality, it's a really clunky curve, weak win cons, and the support pieces weren't enough to keep it afloat. It's often considered one of the weakest artifact-themed precons, despite having Saheeli on the box. No doubt about it, this one definitely belongs in D tier. Next up, we got Entropic Uprising from Chaos 2016. The Chaos deck with Yidris. Tons of fun if you love randomness, but as an actual functioning deck, it really just collapses on itself. Very little consistency, expensive mana curve, and relies way too heavily on high variance cascade hits. Next up, we got Faceless Menace from Morph 2019. Morph is a really cool mechanic, but this deck proved why it has not been the star of Commander. It's too slow, has a lot of do-nothing creatures, and you spend all of your mana flipping things up only for them to get board wiped. It feels like a draft archetype that got shoved into a Commander game. Next up, we got Power Hungry from Jund Sacrifice 2013. Prosh was the card to steal out of this deck. The rest, barely functional, sacrifice synergies are weak, and the curve is really clunky. Most players just scrapped the rest of it and immediately took Prosh and rebuilt him stronger. 100% belongs in D tier. Next up, we got Elves, Guided by Nature Elf Tribal from 2014. It's really hard to believe that this could be bad. However, this one managed to do it. Way too many high-cost elves, no real finishers, and no coherent ramp plan. Lateral decks today make this look embarrassing by comparison. Last and probably the least, Primal Genesis from Nea Populate 2019. Populate was pushed as a make more tokens, go wide. The problem is your tokens weren't impactful enough to matter. By the time you built anything, a board wipe would reset you back to square one and just take you off the table completely. Alright, that's it for the true disasters of Commander Precons. These are the ones that you buy once and never touch again, but not every deck can be that bad. Some were playable and even fun at times, but they still missed the mark compared to what came after. These are the decks that sat right in the middle of the pack. Welcome to C tier. First up on the C tier, we got Counterpunch from 2011. This is supposed to be the Gave Guru Spores deck that showed off token synergies and sacrifice loops. Instead, it was a half-formed idea with very little support baked in. You get a couple of cool plays with Gave, but the rest of the deck felt like filler cards that didn't know what they were doing. Fun in theory, disappointing in practice. Definitely middle of the road. Next up, Heavenly Inferno. A 2011 precon that has angels, demons, and dragons. It really doesn't get any more metal than that. The only problem is that the mana base was atrocious. Every creature cost a small fortune, and by the time you slam something down, the other precons already had set up shop. The deck is flashy and cool, but the mana ramp was heavily overlooked in this precon. Evasive Maneuvers. Bant, Flicker / Blink should be fun, right? The problem is, the payoff wasn't there. The deck leaned on clunky ETB creatures that didn't really scale in multiplayer. And instead of feeling tricky or clever, it felt like you were just sitting there until someone dropped a real threat to the table. Next up, we're jumping up to 2021, Strixhaven specifically. Lorehold Legacies. Everyone got hyped for this one. Finally, Boros is more than just combat. Graveyard shenanigans, artifacts, recursion. But when you actually played it, it felt slow and underwhelming. This deck had no clear finisher and spent way too much time setting up mediocre synergies. It's like Boros got a college degree, but couldn't get a job with it. So we've seen the decks that were clunky, awkward, or just plain underwhelming. But now we're moving into B tier. The ones that aren't bad at all. These are the Precons that actually work out of the box, have a solid theme, and can hold their own at most tables. But they're still not quite the cream of the crop. Think of them as the dependable middle ground. Fun, functional, and with just enough spice to make you glad that you sleeved them. Starting off strong, number 1, Draconic Domination from 2017 featuring the Ur-Dragon. Dragons are always popular, and this Precon gave us one of the most beloved tribal commanders ever. Out of the box though, it was slow and mana hungry, with an amazing payoff but really clunky delivery. That's why it belongs in B tier. Next up, we got Symbiotic Swarm from 2020. This deck had neat counters and keyword synergy and Cathrill is flavorful, but the deck didn't lean too hard enough into its best synergies, making it more of a casual deck than a threatening deck. That's why it belongs right in B tier. Moving on, we have Vampiric Bloodlust from 2017, featuring the infamous Edgar Markov. Yes, Edgar himself is insane, one of the best vampire commanders ever. But the Precon list was pretty fair compared to what Edgar can do when optimized. Still very fun, but not too oppressive right out of the box. Perfect for B tier. Next up, we have the start of the token meta, Quantum Quandrix from 2021. Doubling tokens is awesome, and this deck nailed the mathy college theme. It lacked a little push and efficiency though, and sometimes folded the board wipes, which makes it perfect for a casual token deck. Alright, we've seen the decks that are fun but flawed, the ones that shine in the right hands but don't quite break through on power alone. But now we're stepping into the next level. These are the Precons that come out swinging, offering strong strategies, real consistency, and just enough power to hold their own at almost any table. Welcome to A tier, where things start getting spicy. Starting off strong with Reap the Tides from Commander Legends. This Precon remains a legend in the Precon scene. Ramp and card draw on the same body is absurdly strong, and AC does exactly that, rewarding you for playing lands, the most basic thing in Magic. Out of the box, it churns value like crazy, and with just a few upgrades, it becomes a green-blue powerhouse. It's the definition of a solid foundation deck that taught a generation of Commander players just how broken ramp and draw really is. Next, we have Cabaretti Cacophony. This deck oozes flavor, literally throwing a party while forcing your opponents into chaos. Cabaretti's go wide, goad the table plan is fun for you, miserable for everybody else. The token production snowballs, and the political manipulation from goad makes sure you're never the immediate target until it's too late. It's not raw power like an S tier list, but the play patterns are unique, stylish, and interactive enough to keep it a fan favorite. So it definitely belongs right in A tier. Next up, one of my personal favorites, Virtue and Valor from Wildspell Drain. Eldraine's Virtue and Valor hit hard with two beloved archetypes, elves and enchantments. The synergies are obvious but satisfying. Go wide with elf armies, then pump them to overwhelming strength. It's simple to pilot, easy to upgrade, and appeals to one of the most passionate communities in MTG, that being elf ball lovers. For new players, it's a slam dunk. It plays how you expect, but it still gives you that broken tribal moment where you suddenly swing with a lethal horde out of nowhere. Now we've made it through the solid decks, the great decks, and even the iconic ones. But S tier is something else entirely. These are Precons that don't just play well, they dominate. Out of the box, they warp a table, demand answers, and in some cases even feel like full-powered decks hiding inside Precon sleeves. When you sit down across from one of these, you know the game is about to be on hard mode. Let's take a look at what the absolute best of the best is in the true S tier Precons. First up on the S tier list, we have Mind Flayers from Battle of Baldur's Gate. This deck was an unexpected powerhouse. Built around mill and graveyard theft, it let you weaponize your opponent's libraries in a way few Precons had before. Even stock, it can derail slower decks by exiling win cons and stealing creatures. With small upgrades, it became downright mean, which is exactly why it's remembered as one of the most dangerous sleeper hits of all Precons. The second seat on our S tier list belongs to Necron Dynasties from Warhammer 40k. This deck set the bar for crossover precons. The synergy between artifact recursion, token swarms, and resilient threats made it absurdly strong right out of the box. It didn't just play well, it dominated tables. The fact that it barely needed upgrades and still punched at near constructed level made it an instant S tier legend. Even now, many players call this one of the best precons ever printed. Next up on the S tier list, we have Riders of Rohan from Lord of the Rings. This deck is all about synergy and flavor, but it didn't stop there. It also had teeth. Go wide strategies are common, but this precon leaned into them with an explosive, resilient package that felt thematic and dangerous at the same time. It balanced flavor with raw effectiveness, making it one of the strongest and most beloved Lord of the Rings precons. Next, we have one of the most oppressive precons ever made, Sliver's Swarm from Commander Masters. If there's one archetype that screams S tier, it's Slivers. This deck came out of the box firing on all cylinders, with synergy so tight that even basic creatures became game-ending threats. The precon demanded immediate answers from the table, or it would steamroll everyone with exponential scaling. Sliver's Swarm wasn't just good, it was oppressive in the way only Slivers can be. Sitting right up there next to Sliver's Swarm is Eldrazi Unbound from Commander Masters. This is the definition of overwhelming power, with Ramp, Annihilator, and Cast triggers all packed into one shell. The deck quickly snowballs into an unstoppable force. It doesn't care about politics, subtlety, or clever tricks. It simply crushes the table with inevitability. Among precons, the Eldrazi Unbound is one of the few that feels like a true constructed powerhouse straight out of the box. These decks don't just hold the ring, they define what precons can be when Wizard gets it right. From the oppressive synergy of Slivers to the raw annihilation of Eldrazi, these are the decks that make tables groan and players remember the game for weeks. But that's just my list. Now it's your turn. Did I miss your favorite? Do you think something here doesn't belong where it was? Drop your hot takes in the comments, and let's get the debate going. If you had fun with this ranking, hit that like button, subscribe for more daily MTG content, and let me know which precon you think deserves to be on this list.